So we're going to go for a different setup today. I have been getting so many questions on TikTok relating to bad friends, boundaries, sticking up for yourself, self-worth, just very specific situations that I just really want to talk about, because I feel like these are things that so many of us experience. Like, I'm reading through these questions thinking I literally had these questions like when I was younger. You know, I really just wish that I'd had somebody to give me the answer to these questions before, because they're quite, you know, sort of niche, but everybody experiences them. I feel like everybody can relate to what I'm going to be talking about today. If you are new to this channel, welcome. My name's Hattie Hyder, and we talk about wellness, self-love, confidence, boundaries, people-pleasing, recovery journey, and really just everything to do with realizing that you are a force to be reckoned with. So if you like any of those things, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. And let's get on with the video, because I really want to get my teeth stuck into these. Also, the other day I literally decided to treat myself and do a massive makeup haul. I literally haven't done one of these in seriously like 1 or 2 years. I was like, no, I really want to experiment with some different lip aesthetics. Now that it's like the noughties, 90s kind of makeup trend is coming back in, I was like, I've got to hop on this, and I bought myself some new lip liners. So I am, I don't know, feeling a bit experimentative at the moment. Okay, so somebody commented on my TikTok about when you start to heal, you end up polarizing people. It's like a normal part of the process. And this person said, genuine advice, I used to be a huge people pleaser, and I've recently started putting boundaries in place. Going through the losses now, but I feel like sometimes I'm the toxic one. How do I deal with this? It is so normal to feel like when you are somebody who's a people pleaser and have historically always put your needs behind everybody else's, it's going to feel toxic. It's going to feel extremely uncomfortable when you start putting your needs first at times. And it's going to feel like you're the toxic one. Your frame of reference is all the way up here. Everybody else's frame of reference is here, who has a healthy kind of relationship with boundaries and putting their needs and other people's needs, prioritizing them at the correct moment. But people that don't have a healthy relationship with that, we're all the way up here. So coming back here even slightly to this middle ground is going to feel really uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you're being selfish, because you're just not used to being you're just not used to putting your needs first at times. You're so used to being that selfless, kind of like endless empathy person. And when you start to come the other way, to more of that middle ground, it's gonna feel like you're toxic. It's just a normal part of the process, because you're not used to doing that. But just know that you're simply coming to that middle point. You're not going all the way up here where people are really selfish and they don't give a shit about anybody else. You're just trying to find this middle ground. And so when you kind of go from this to that, it is going to feel like a massive jump. It is going to feel like you're being toxic. It is going to feel really uncomfortable, because you're just not used to being, you know, you're not used to prioritizing yourself. And that can feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean you're toxic. It just means that you're finally prioritizing yourself. Other people might not react to it very well either. So it might feel toxic because, or other people might label you as toxic, or what you're doing as toxic, by putting your needs first, because they're not used to you putting your needs first. So instead of being like, fucking hell, she's putting her, or they're putting their needs before mine this time, they're not going to see it like that. They're going to see you as selfish. They're going to see you as toxic, because you're essentially not doing what they're used to. You're not doing what they prefer you to be doing. So they might label it as toxic, but you're not. It's just that they're mad that they can't get what they want from you anymore. They can't have the same access to you as they once did. They're mad that you're not putting your needs behind theirs anymore. So they're going to incorrectly, perhaps, label it as toxic when it's not. You're just coming to that middle ground, like I said before. Doesn't mean that people are going to like it. Doesn't mean that people aren't going to insult you for it. But just be reassured that you are not toxic for putting yourself first, for recovering as a people pleaser. It is a necessary part of the process. It's going to piss a lot of people off. Okay, somebody commented here. They said, do you have any tips for making new friends after cutting several long-term toxic friendships off in your 20s? I work remotely and it's hard. What I would firstly say is give yourself a period of time where you're not actively looking for friends, where you're having this period of time where you don't have as many friends and you don't socialize as much, you're having more introversion. Because when you come out of being in toxic relationships, friendships, or, you know, romantic relationships, your body has to go through a healing period of time. Just like most people, I guess, would agree that jumping from one relationship to another is not healthy. You're not letting yourself grieve. You're not letting yourself actually grow. It's the same with friendships. If you cut like people off that don't make you feel good, and then you get straight into new friendships, you're not giving yourself, first of all, that time to recover from the experiences and the trauma that you might have had with those former friends, but you're also not allowing yourself to grow to a point where you will then be good at assessing whether or not somebody deserves to be in your life or not. Because when you don't give yourself that chance to recalibrate, you don't give yourself that chance to actually work out what friends that like you want, you will end up attracting the same person again. There needs to be a gap where between the friends you formerly had and then your new friends. And that gap is there for you to rest, recuperate, recalibrate, and work out who you want to be your friends. You need to work out like exactly what you're looking for in friendships. You need to be so deliberate, because otherwise, if you don't have that gap, you're just going to be unintentional about your next friendships. You're going to fall into new friendships that will, again, not serve you eventually. So making sure you're deliberate with your new friendships is extremely important. The way I would kind of answer being able to make new friends, especially when you work remote, is to speak to a stranger when you're in the coffee shop. Because I feel like, oh my God, what is going on? Has it gone? No. I just don't want it to stick to my lipstick because I've got lip gloss on. And then it like flies into my face. That would be awful. Ugh. Basically, do things that you're scared of. Join like classes. If you live in a city, certainly there'll always be like activity options. For example, like pottery making classes or book clubs. Literally just take an interest that you have and see if you can join a club. My mum, since she's retired, has like started doing all these different activities related to her hobbies, and she's made loads of new friends. She has been chatting to so many new people because she's just gone out there and like started doing new things that are related to her hobbies. So I would do the same. I know this is like very obvious advice, but if you want to make friends, then you need to essentially put yourself in situations where your interests, you have like a common interest. So if you really like art, go to like an art class and you're going to meet like-minded people. It's just naturally going to happen. And you know, don't put so much pressure on it. Just see how it goes and see if it flows. Go to, you know, social events, like, you know, where there's like networking events and that kind of thing. Basically put yourself out there. If you really want to actively find friends that you feel like you're going to gel with, do things that you're interested in, like classes and that kind of thing. You could even connect to people online, you know, message people online and just say, you know, I really like what you're doing. Can we have a chat about it? Like, I don't know, I've literally connected with quite a few people on TikTok who've got common interests with me, and we've called and we've just had a chat. So if you're craving that, put yourself out there, do things that you enjoy, and the right people are going to be doing the same thing as you, you know? So join a book club, start doing like amateur dramatics. That's something that I really want to do, because I know that you just like easily make friends because you're hanging out with like-minded people. Just do it that way, and you will feel that you are starting to kind of connect with people that are actually you're deliberately connecting with. It's going to be more intentional and you have things in common with. So somebody has put here, relating to a video, I was talking about how when you raise an issue with somebody, the way you do that is a secondary problem to their initial disrespect, because a lot of people, very clever, very common tactic of manipulative people, which is that they do something really upsetting, hurtful, and then you will respond and call it out, and they get annoyed with you even responding. Like, they'll nitpick how you chose to respond, which is, in my personal opinion, a secondary issue to the initial disrespect. But they do it to sort of avoid taking accountability. Anyway, somebody has put, how do you stop feelings of guilt or fear of hurting someone for expressing your truths? Categorically, I will say that if they are good people, if they are true friends, they will not want you to feel fearful or guilty for bringing something up. They would be mortified at the prospect. They would basically say, thank you for letting me know, I'm so glad. And they will try and behave in a way that reassures you that you don't need to feel guilty or fearful of their reaction. The people that I have felt fearful and guilty for bringing stuff up with have always been people who preferred me when I was silent. Or at least it turned out to be that. You know, I always experienced with some of my former friends that when I actually chose to speak up and talk about something that hurt me, and by the way, I tried to do this in the most respectful, kind way I possibly could at the time. And with these people, it does not matter how you choose to do it. They will be able to nitpick literally anything about your response to their initial disrespect. They will have a problem with whatever you do, whatever medium, whatever tone, whatever way you do it, because they don't want to take accountability. Those people want you to feel guilt and fear around bringing up an issue. If we've had loads of experiences where we have been made to feel guilty or feel fear for raising something, and then we come across somebody who we don't actually need to feel that way about, but we've been traumatized into feeling that way, when we say something, their response is going to make us realize that not everybody responds like that, and that good, honest, true friends do not want you to feel that way. But if somebody affirms that they want you to feel guilty and they want you to feel fearful around raising an issue, they do not deserve to be in your life. They're prioritizing their ego over the friendship or the relationship, instead of having the sort of maturity to say, you know, it's upset me that you're upset, but I want to listen and I want to improve this relationship. People that prefer you to feel guilt and fear around raising an issue with them literally prefer your silence. I don't know how else to put it. The relationship works between you two when you are a shell of yourself. You're a lesser version of yourself. You're not your authentic self. They prefer it that way. And in the comment they say, how do you stop feeling guilt? Well, you start to surround yourself with people that would be mortified at the prospect of you feeling guilt and shame or whatever around raising something with them. They would actively want you to raise issues with them if you feel like it's necessary, because they would want to enrich the friendship. They would want to enrich the relationship. Me and my partner, it's never a comfortable feeling raising an issue, but I'm always so appreciative when he does, or I'm always very keen to raise it with him, because I know that it's not going to result in either of us feeling guilt or fear, because we both have the common goal of wanting to improve the relationship. If you have the common goal with your friend of wanting to improve the relationship, you won't feel the guilt, you won't feel fear, because that you'll know they would want you to raise an issue in order to make the friendship better. So I think anybody that makes you feel that way does need to go, because the right people won't make you feel like that. Actually, it's up to the other person, in a sense, to stop that feeling. Like, if you're talking to a friend that wants to enrich the relationship, wants to enrich the friendship, or even a partner, your feelings of guilt and fear will immediately melt away when you raise an issue with them. They won't melt away if you confront somebody who doesn't want to take accountability, who doesn't want to hear your truth. They want you to remain silent. So it's kind of like based on, I think as people pleasers or recovering people pleasers, we do start off feeling guilt and fear around it. But we recognise over time that the right people don't make us feel like that. So it really just is a bit of a bullshit filter, because if you feel guilt and shame and you continue to after speaking up, then they're not right for you. If you don't, it melts away, then they're right for you. Like, they're good people, you know? Right, let's have a look at this one. So, talking about removing people from your life. So this person says, did you go cold turkey when cutting people out of your life, or did you slowly phase them out? And did you confront anyone along the way, or give them an explanation? This is a really difficult one to answer, because it really just depends on that person. When it actually comes to communicating, look, I'm gonna call this a day with the friendship or a relationship, I'm gonna, move on, I think that is the more courageous thing to do. I think that's the more brave thing to do. I think in many circumstances, just cutting them off with no explanation is quite a cowardly thing to do. And the way I see it is, like, I would want an explanation. Some of my friends have in the past explained to me, you know, oh, so-and-so's just sort of ghosted me, like we don't talk anymore and I don't really know why. And I've actually known the reason why, but I didn't think it was my place. And I just thought that person should have told that person. I don't know, I just think communication is key, isn't it? It really just depends on the situation, but I always just feel like sometimes people are too quick to cut people off and then they leave that person in the lurch. And I think sometimes that person is left guessing and it just seems unfair to me. Some people might have different opinions. It really, again, it depends on the person. There are some friendships where I have slowly sort of like moved away, and then there have been ones where I've had to cut it off. And I really think it depends on the intensity of the friendship. If you are talking every day and you're quite close, first of all, I think that an explanation is deserved. But also I think that you cannot slowly phase them out. You kind of just have to say it as it is. Like, I don't feel good anymore about this friendship. Like, it doesn't make me feel good anymore. Like, I'm going to call it a day here. And you can go into, you know, I've explained why, because I feel like I wanted that person to know that they had hurt me. And I didn't want them to be left guessing. I wanted them to know that they hurt me. With many of my former friendships, they were quite intense. So if I just stopped talking to them, it would be weird. So I kind of had to do that. Whereas there are some friends who you don't really speak to very often, so you can just slowly phase them out. Like, it's not that deep. But two, certainly, of my former friendships, like, they were quite obsessive with how they communicated. Like, it would have been weird if I just didn't respond to them. I think that would have been quite mean, and I didn't want to do that. So as a roundabout answer, it depends on the friendship. If it's intense, you kind of need it to be like a clean break. But if it's not that intense, if you're not that close, you can probably get away with phasing it out and maybe not communicating, because maybe they're not that bothered either with an explanation. But what I will say is, when you tell people the truth or your truth, it's so liberating for you, because you can come away thinking, not only did I try and amend the friendship. So for example, like with a couple of my ex-friends, like I explain to them how they made me feel, and I wanted to sort of give the friendship another chance, because I wanted to see how they'd respond. If they responded like, oh my god, I'm really sorry, I'm really upset that I've hurt you, let's talk about it, then obviously I would have been like, oh my god, no, like, let's continue the friendship. Like, I think the way this person responded just suggests to me that they give a shit about the friendship, and they're willing to put their ego aside. And then, but then if they didn't respond like that and they were defensive, they, you know, weren't able to take accountability, and they basically just pinned it all back on me, then I was like, I'd always think to myself, yeah, I made the right decision. So it was almost like a sort of final attempt at salvaging the friendship, and the way they responded to it would indicate to me whether or not I wanted to keep them around or not. So that's quite peaceful for you, because you can be like, cool, I know that I definitely made the right decision. Because I think sometimes, especially when we're people pleasers, we don't have a very strong sense of like self, so we find it really difficult to assess whether or not somebody is good for us. And, you know, we don't want to do the wrong thing, we don't want to upset somebody, we don't want to, you know, make a mistake or whatever, and perfectionism is kind of involved in that. But if you speak your truth in a kind, compassionate way, with an intent to sort of resolve the friendship or resolve the issue, based on their response, you can be at peace knowing whichever response they had, at least you said your truth and at least you tried. And it also is good for them. I know you might not care about them at this point, but like, I always wanted to show somebody that I'd had in my life for a really long time respect, and I did want to communicate, you know, how they had hurt me, and I think it was important for me to communicate how they'd hurt me, so potentially they wouldn't do that to somebody else in the future. And again, a lot of people might not agree with this, which is fair enough. They might not think it's their responsibility, but for me, I wanted to communicate the problem so that they would think twice about doing that to somebody else. And also just overall, there's never going to be like one right way of doing something. All you can do is come to it with kindness and kind of yourself and them, and that's all you can do. Their response is, you cannot control that. So however they respond is however they respond. You know that you did what you could with the tools that you had at the time, and you came to it with good intentions, and that's all you can do. So somebody has said here, do you have any advice on building self-worth? I feel like I know I'm a good person, but I feel stuck. This is a massive question. Building self-worth is so multifaceted and complex, but something that really helped me start to build self-worth is standing my ground, starting to stand up for myself and starting to trust my judgment over the judgment of other people. When we are people pleasers, we often place all our trust in other people because we don't have a high amount of trust for ourselves, because we want to please people, because we want to be amenable, and because we want to be like pleasant. Yeah, like we want to be liked. We know that other people are not going to like us as much if we stand our ground and have our own opinions. We are risking somebody else not liking us, which is the goal when we're people pleasers. We are risking somebody not liking us if we oppose them, if we disagree with them, if we don't share the same opinion as them. So we get into this cycle, and it builds up over years of trusting other people's judgment and thoughts more than our own, because that's where we find safety in terms of, you know, we're more likely to be liked if we agree and if we just nod our heads and we're like yes men, basically. So unfortunately, you're left with very shaky grounds when it comes to being able to stand up for yourself and being able to be self-assured and having self-worth, because all your self-worth hinges on how other people view you, or hinges on what other people think. And that's how you derive your worth. You get it from how valuable other people see you. It's very fickle, and it leaves you with very shaky foundations for your sense of self. Building self-worth is starting to trust your judgment, starting to do things that maybe other people don't agree with but feels right for you, and standing in that. You know, building self-worth for me last year was setting boundaries and saying no to bad friends. And yes, it was painful. Yes, it was uncomfortable. Yes, it made me question myself. But by God, do I feel so much better for it now. I basically told myself I trusted my judgment and my experience over their questioning, their gaslighting, their minimization, their confusing behavior. I voted with my feet and I did the right thing. And you basically, doing this rewires over time your brain to trust yourself. So the more you do things that require you to stand your ground, that could be in any situation, the more self-trust you're going to build, because you'll realize that you are safe and that good things happen to you when you stand your ground. It might not be immediate, but it does eventually happen like this. In order to rewire your brain to have self-trust and have a greater amount of self-worth by proxy, you need to put yourself in situations that test that self-worth, that test the trust that you have for yourself, by stating boundaries, standing up for yourself, doing things that are scary, being uncomfortable. Say if I post an opinion on TikTok, it's not very comfortable when people don't agree, and they might be insulting and they might be like, oh, this is like a bad opinion, or I don't agree with this, and then I still stick to it. That is one extra thing I'm doing to build my self-worth, because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but that's my opinion and that's what I agree with and that's what I think. And so despite what other people might think, I'm still sticking to my guns. That's how you're going to build self-worth, because you start to garner this trust for yourself and trust in your decisions, your behaviour and your choices. It removes decision paralysis, because you're like, no, I know what I want to do. I've got a vision. I'm going to go for it. It makes you more sure of what you want to do in your life. There are so many benefits to having self-worth. You kind of get out of this sheep mentality as well, because you're just going with what feels right for you. And the more you build on that, the more sure of it you're going to be. So building self-worth in a nutshell is standing your ground even when other people are telling you to back down, or trying to guilt trip you into backing down, and then carrying on anyway. Doing things that are uncomfortable, and proving to yourself that you can do it. That's how you're going to build self-worth. I've had some messages on TikTok, two of which I think are quite similar. I can sense the type of people they're dealing with when they have explained their situations to me. So both situations have been where their friend has become mad at them for not putting their needs above their own. And I've experienced this quite a few times with some of my former friendships. They have been like upset with me for putting my needs before theirs at times, because they are so used to me putting their needs before mine. So when you start to stand up for yourself, when you start to put your needs before other people's, some people are not going to like it because they're not used to you putting your needs above theirs or prioritizing yourself. So they might do things like get annoyed with you for experiencing emotions or negative emotions. They might get annoyed with you for not doing what you want, what they want you to do, or not centering them in your life. Because I think when we're people pleasers and we're friends with people that like people pleasers, they get very offended and very upset when you start to show that you are a fallible human, because they've expected you to be perfect. They've expected you to be infallible and not do anything wrong and put your needs. They basically like you when you're not difficult. And the thing is, by being difficult, or basically you're putting your needs is equal or above theirs at times, they're going to get annoyed with you. They're going to see you as difficult, not because you are, but because they are so used to you being this sort of like shell of yourself, not prioritizing yourself, because that benefits them. So when you start doing the opposite, they're going to get offended, they're going to get annoyed with you, and they're going to start pushing back. So in these situations that these people have talked to me about, it's been instances where they've basically started to stand up for themselves, or they've set a boundary, or they've prioritized their needs, and their friends don't like it. And in fact, in one of them, their friends actually cut them off because they started to put their needs above their friends. Unfortunately, with some friends, they're only friends with you while you serve them, while you do things that prioritize them, while you put their needs above yours. So the moment that you stop doing that, they're going to want to discard you because you're no longer useful. It's disgustingly sinister, and I cannot believe that this is even a thing. But there are people that are only with you for strategic reasons, or because you give them something, an ego boost, or you, like I said, put your needs behind theirs, so they kind of benefit from you in some way. And so when you start putting your needs above theirs, or start prioritizing yourself, you're no longer useful to them. So when you start basically to grow, become a better version of yourself, start to be confident, they're not going to like it because you're not providing them with the same thing that they once got from you. It's not because of you, it's because they only see friends as people to serve them, people to do what they want and to adhere to their needs, not anybody else's, which a good riddance anyway. Like, bye-bye, the trash took itself out. Thank God that they're no longer in your life, if they cut you off because of it. Anyway, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. I actually loved making this video. I feel like I connected with you guys so much. It's just like nice to sort of get some real sort of experiences that people have had, and just also know that like we're just not alone in any of this. Like, we all feel the same thing and we all experience the same people at times. So I hope this reassures you. I hope you've gleaned some value from it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.